everybody, and welcome back to Tax Sale Insiders. I am your host, once again, the COO of Tax Sale Resources, Rachel Seidensticker. And as always, I'm excited to have our CEO, Brian, here with us. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hi, Rachel. I'm great. Hi, everybody.
Oh, yeah, awesome. We always love having you back, and I'm excited for the topic that we're going to tackle today. Very applicable. We've got a lot of sale action this fall across the country. It's a busier time of the year for tax sale investors. A lot of states host their sales this fall. So thought we would maybe uncover a few of, one of those states being Indiana. So are you ready to kind of talk with us a little bit about Indiana?
Absolutely. And you're right. Everybody is a procrastinator, including county governments. And so as the end of the year approaches, that's when you see a flurry of activity.
Isn't that the truth? That's great. That's really great. Well, okay, let's just kind of dig in, I guess. Let's start with our basic overview of what the property tax sale process is in Indiana. We will get into the nitty-gritty of liens and deeds, so just an overview to start would be great. So,
Okay. Well, there's I'd say overall process in Indiana. There's two main sales. They do have deed sales on occasion too, but the two main sales they have are what we call their standard sale, which is a lien sale with a 1-year redemption period, and then followed by a foreclosure process. And then they do have a second sale. Basically, the stuff that doesn't sell at the standard sale goes to what's called a commissioner sale. It has a 120-day redemption process, and we've started categorizing those at Tax Sale Resource. We call those redeemable deeds, simply because it is a short enough period, and people are typically buying those, with the intent of owning that real estate at the end of the day. And so we've categorized those differently than lien sales. As far as the bidding process goes, it's a premium bid process. So the lien amount is what it is. You earn interest on that lien amount. I know they've changed the interest on that, but I think last time you might know the latest, Rachel, is 10% on the lien amount. And then the premium bid amount also gets interest, but it was a lot lower. I think it was down at 5%. And it's kind of bounced around. I think they're looking at changing that again soon. But that's generally how the bidding process works. It's not a bid down interest method. You bid up a premium, and you actually earn a certain amount of interest on that premium in Indiana.
yeah, no, you've got all your interest rates right, I believe. So I think we're good there. So, and I guess let's give our listeners a background on what our experience is in Indiana, as far as what makes us more knowledgeable in this state.
Well, I guess having tracked sales there and all the different types of sales for several years, right, puts us in a pretty unique position, having the analytic data to know which sales make sense. Because when you model this out from a buyer's perspective, you kind of have two primary motives. One is to either own that real estate at the end of the day, and maybe your care about the return is less, or if you're a standard lien investor, then when stuff redeems starts to become much more important. And so having that redemption data helps you build out that model. And so we're unique in the fact that we have been in the state for as long as we are, and the level of data that we do acquire in that state, I think, is unparalleled compared to anybody else.
Well, I would agree with you, but I'm a little biased. So, all right, well, let's dig into that process with some more specificity. I want to start with the lien sales, because that, of course, is the first sale in Indiana. So let's break that down. Let's talk about lien sales. What's the process? I think you touched on it, but let's review the redemption, the rules, and the pros and cons to the tax lien sales there.
Yeah, well, I guess as I mentioned, the auction as it occurs, you're bidding a premium, and so the lien amount is the lien amount. You're bidding an amount you're willing to pay in excess of that.
Mm-hmm.
What what makes Indiana unique is that you do get interest on that premium bid. They did change the statutes a few years ago. It used to be the same amount you'd earn on the lien amount, and so people were not shy about bidding very high levels of premium. They've since shrunk that interest amount that you earn on that premium down to, I think, 5% is the latest amount. And so it has I say decreased the level of premium bid, but there's still a hefty amount of premium typically bid at auctions in Indiana, because overall it's still a pretty good safe return on it. It is a 1-year redemption period, so on the standard sale, and so it could redeem for that 1 year. You are not owning the property, right? It's a lien sale, it's not a deed sale. And then after that 1 year, there's still an additional process you have to go through in order to get the deed. So that's, I guess, the lien sale process.
And I think my understanding is most of the lien sales are also online through, a couple different companies, but that's something to note in Indiana for the lien sales specifically as well. Not all of them, but the bulk of them are. So yeah, any other pros, any cons for the lien sales in Indiana to keep in mind?
Well, some of the shorter redemption period, right? The fact that you do get interest on that premium, right? Those are all good things. Some of the cons is this, the secondary process that you have to go through in order to get insurable title at the end of the day. If you are looking for the real estate, then it can be, you're going to have to wait, right, a significant amount, and it does follow kind of the trend that you see in most lien states, where the vast majority is going to redeem anyway. And so if that's your model, right, unless you're investing on a massive scale, the chance of getting that real estate is relatively slim. So I guess pros and cons, it depends on what your end goal is.
And filing for insurable title, that can be costly, correct? That's why it's in that con bucket.
It can, yeah. It's if you go through a full quiet title process, that can get fairly expensive. There are other options we've talked about in other podcasts about title certifications and so forth. So anyway, Indiana is kind of unique because you've got a mixture of both, I'd say, deed investors looking for real estate, as well as lien investors just looking for a decent return and really not interested in the real estate. It's kind of in that happy medium between both.
Yeah. All right. So that kind of transitioned us because obviously there's a process if you've acquired the lien to eventually get the deed, but there's also that redeemable deed and deed sale process in Indiana, right? So, or commissioner sale and then deed sale process. So there's up to 3 sales possible. Let's speak to that deed sale process, that are kind of the leftovers.
Yeah, well, call it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, right? Everything goes to lien sale. If it doesn't sell at the lien sale, it goes to the commissioner sale. If it doesn't sell at the commissioner sale, they try one last time at the deed sale. So you can think of each level down, you're getting probably a slightly lower quality, not slightly, but significantly lower quality of property. So by the time it gets to the deed sale, it's pretty bottom of the barrel stuff. Not to say it's all worthless, but it's pretty bottom of the barrel stuff. I know of several folks that are very active on the commissioner sale because it's all right. It's stuff that nobody else was interested in. It's got a lower redemption period. So if you are truly interested in the real estate, focusing on the commissioner sale seems to be where to spend your time. But that's kind of how they filter down through the different sales in Indiana.
Okay. I think you addressed the cons really, which is you're getting to the bottom of the barrel, right? You're getting to the bottom of the barrel. But at the end, when you do acquire that deed sale, then you do have to file for that insurable title again, or is it a different process?
I'm assuming that you're still getting what I'd consider a treasurer's deed. And so you would still have to go through the insurable title process, whether it's quiet title or title certification. Definitely ask your attorney or an attorney that's familiar with Indiana to clarify that. And I can't imagine it being any different than the deed that you typically would get, through the foreclosure process on a lien.
Yeah. Well, and just a small plug purely because Indiana is unique that there is an actual little kind of mini conference that a law office based out of Indianapolis puts on. William R. Richards law office. They've been doing a small conference the beginning of August. I think we just missed it, but beginning of August every year. So look into that, because if you're new in the Indiana world, we always suggest get educated, learn, and that's a great opportunity to do that. So just a little plug.
Yeah, I wish every state had those, and I've seen a couple others. Gentleman Scott Walterback, who's also an attorney in Missouri, does that. I wish every state did that, because they do an excellent job of bringing all of the interested parties together and talking through, how does the process works, and answering questions for new investors looking to get into Indiana. And I would highly suggest, if you're listening to this, or in the future, or looking to go, the next year, is putting that conference on your calendar to attend, before you start buying in Indiana, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I was thinking maybe today, if you could just walk us through how our research platform works. So I was going to share the screen and really allow you to look through and say, hey, this is how we can help as far as filtering down, how the research platform can get you to those Indiana sales. So you want to just do a brief little touch? So.
Well, I mean, you're looking at nationwide. You can go in there and look at Indiana. You can then, narrow it down and look at a specific county, and it maps it all out for you. So you can, see where parcels are, throughout that county. You can further narrow it down based on, property type and opening bid amount, and, land size, and so forth. So, it's definitely a unique way of quickly taking what looks like a pretty large list and narrowing it down. Right there, you narrowed it down. If you're looking after single family homes, right, that category, took what was it, over 1,000 down to 100 or so, right?
Yeah.
And did that in a matter of seconds. What typically, looking it up to the county assessor, that would take you days at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously we're biased, and but it is a pretty incredible tool compared to, I'll say, the old school method of looking them up one by one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know we're biased, but it's okay. I think people expect that from us at this point. So it's all right. Now how would a user or an investor get to, I don't know where to even start in Indiana? Like, where are the best returns, and, or where the bid ups, how much do people have to bid up? What does that look like? So.
Oh, well, um, that's the kind of the age old question of where should I go invest, right? And we get that question all the time, but the answer truly is unique to everybody, because it very much depends on, well, are you needing a specific county or counties, right? Are you after a specific property type? What is your end goal? Like, there's so many nuances and iterations that the only way to answer that is to basically enable folks with the data to go figure that out themselves. And that's kind of what we've put together in our market analysis report, because we track all of the sale results, not all, but most of the sale results. And then we try to break that down, by different categories, property types, right? Further down, we take that property type and break it in different property types, into different opening bid classes, and then really ultimately say, okay, here's how much premium people are bidding for those different classes, of property, and then a class of opening bid amount. So you can try to narrow down, okay, I think this is where I want to go to earn my best return in an asset class that you're comfortable with, right? And so people might only want to target single family homes. People might want to target vacant land because it's a higher return, that sort of thing. So there's the market analysis report is really intended to enable investors to go find that answer out themselves, because they can say, well, I'm really only interested in these 3 counties. Well, okay, go look at those 3 counties and decide which one's best for you. Or I'm only looking for the south part of the state or the north part of the state, or I'm only looking for single family homes, but I'm willing to travel, I'll say statewide in Indiana or nationwide, right? And okay, well, here's where you can go to get the best return based on that model. So the market analysis report really is a way of answering that question, or people answering that question themselves.
Yeah, yeah, taking some control into their investment, right? And where they want to go, being the boss of their business. So,
Exactly.
very cool. Well, do you have any real life, tax deed sales success stories that you've tapped into? I know, we've interviewed a lot of different investors out there in different capacities, but any that you know of that you can touch on? So,
Well, I mean, people are successfully buying liens there at a massive scale every year, right? So, and success stories. I mean, we certainly are, have been active in providing capital to a few investors in Indiana that are pursuing real estate, and they've bought everything from a single family home. This particular gentleman I'm thinking of bought a single family home, turned into a rental. He's done that several times. He bought a multifamily property. He's even bought a multifamily property at the commissioner's sale for, I don't want to say, it's a few $100s or something crazy. And this is not a grade A property; it needed a lot of work. But if you're willing to do that work, like he was, you can do really well. We've actually even funded him in purchasing a commercial property in Indiana. So, yes, you can still be rather successful in Indiana for sure.
it's putting in the elbow grease, when you get those properties that are on the B or C grade, right? There's elbow grease involved in
Yeah, we're talking D's and F's here.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you got to put a little extra elbow grease, but the potential benefit is there.
Yeah, yeah, great. Well, you touched on our financing program. What would that look like for an investor if they say they already have a tax deed in Indiana? What does that look like?
Well, we have three different programs, but the typical program would be a refinancing program. So if they go and purchase that property, they can access the equity in that tax deed, right? Whether they have insurable title yet or not.
Mhm.
The program was slightly different in what level of equity they can access based on whether they have insurable title or not. But we're unique in that we can provide capital to tax up properties before you have insurable title, which is not really the standard practice. So and really we built the program to enable folks that have a good model to scale that model, right? So if you got a winning model, but knowing tax deeds are typically very, very cash intensive, and you don't have enough to do it full time or to purchase enough properties at the auction, then working with us working with you, it kind of turns into somewhat of a partnership, enables you as the investor to really do what you do best, and do it full time.
Yeah, we like to be a partner, don't we? Certainly key. So, all right. Well, just talking about like Indiana, do you have any insights as to, anything coming up from a legislative perspective in Indiana? And I know, Tyler versus Hennepin has been huge. It's on everybody's mind. So what is Indiana, where does Indiana land as far as the Tyler versus Hennepin Supreme Court decision?
Yeah, I think Tyler Hennepin is putting a lot of states' processes under the microscope, right? But and there's probably an infinite different ways you can interpret what the Supreme Court said in that case. I think it's pretty clear to me they said that there needs to be an excess, or if there's an excess bid amount, right, that needs to be available to the previous owner, at least for a period of time. And I guess they didn't even go that far to say how long, but the fact that Indiana's process, has a premium bid amount that creates an excess bid amount that is accessible to the previous owner, I guess at first blush would say, okay, Indiana, isn't really affected by that. I need to, I guess, remind, I'm not an attorney, right? And I ultimately don't know because there's so many different ways of interpreting that. But from my understanding of Tyler Hennepin and what that equates to, Indiana is seems to be pretty clear.
Okay. Anything else that you know of that's coming down the pike? I know, if there's, I know Tyler versus Hennepin has been a huge conversation point for like the NTLA, but anything legislatively, that might affect, Indiana in the year to come?
Well, yeah, I don't know exactly what legislation they'll look at or adopt. I've been told that there's certainly a push to move that interest rate that investors earn on the premium back up, right? It was kind of one of those, it was 10% on the lien and 10% on the premium. And then with rates getting so low, they said, wait a minute, it's not real fair. We need to drop the rate on the premium bid. They dropped it down to 5. And it was still beneficial. Investors were still participating. Now with rates back up over 5%, right? Typically now folks would basically be losing on the premium that's bid, compared to what they're paying on that capital. And so there's a push to increase that rate, to what I don't know. I don't know if they'll put it back at 12, or 10, or more. I don't know. But I know there's a push, at least on the investor side, to look at that to make it a beneficial situation for lien investors as opposed to a losing situation on that premium bid. And that ultimately, I think increasing that does benefit it, that, in the spirit of Tyler Hennepin, right? If the lower the premium bids amounts, right, then that's less available to the previous owner. And so, to keep those premium bids higher, right, you got to have the incentive to do that, and making it fair so there's still a return to be made by the investor on that premium amount as opposed to a loss, will help ensure that those premium bids remain, substantially high.
Yeah. Well, great. I guess it's something I wanted to just remind all of our listeners too. We always suggest going and seeking legal assistance if you've got some very specific questions on the process and so forth. And you did conduct an interview with Billy Richards, who works for the William R. Richards firm based out of Indianapolis. So for those of you who want to get more in depth about Indiana and the ins and outs, definitely go check out on our blog and search Indiana, and you'll see that pop up. So just food for thought for our listeners. Any other takeaways or any other things you wanted to mention about Indiana before we close this one up?
No, I think, for those that are looking at, getting into a decent return right now on the lien side, Indiana seems to be one of those you still get a pretty decent return on. If you're looking for the real estate, attending the commissioner sales, as long as you're willing to put in that elbow grease, like you said, then still opportunities there. And Indiana is unique in the fact that they do have that conference or seminar that the William Richards law office puts on that brings all of those parties together. So if you have questions, definitely attend that. That's kind of a blessing in Indiana that isn't available in most states. So take advantage of it.
Yeah, indeed. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Brian. As always, I think this gives our listeners a nice jumping off point. Again, we're not attorneys. We're not here to, give you that advice. We're just here to let you get dip your toe in and know what tools we also offer, but give you a little more information in case you're looking to expand into new markets. So thank you for your knowledge as always. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Good luck.
Yeah, happy investing out there, and be sure to keep tuning back in because we always have something new that we're bringing to you so you can learn more about how you can invest in this industry. Thanks.